Hi, I'm Bob Doman, and I want to talk to you some more about what happened to that brilliant baby of yours. We look at our kids and we identify, okay, they're not doing great, they're not doing wonderfully. All right, now let's talk about some of the major factors that stop them from becoming what they could be, stop them from achieving that potential. Probably at the top of the list is simply the ability to take in information and manipulate information and to think. And this isn't some big, mysterious, difficult thing. All right. It comes down to what is often called short-term memory and working memory and executive function. All right. Short-term memory, we generally just call simply processing. How much can you take in? Working memory is simply how many pieces of information you can hold together and manipulate. And the executive function is taking it in, manipulating it, bringing information from your long-term memory, and using what's called visualization, thinking in pictures, conceptualization, thinking in words, to manipulate that information and think. Ultimately, what we want to do is provide our kids with a good education, but really what we want is to give them that foundation and permit them to think, do something with that information. Virtually all of our kids today, even our typical kids, are way, way, way from where they could be in terms of their ability to process that information, to manipulate that information, and think with that information. Right? The first step in that is auditory and visual sequential processing. How many pieces can we take in? All right, and that's a pretty simple deal. Matter of fact, every one of you can, after you watch this video, go test your kids and have somebody test you and find out how well you process information. All right, and I'll tell you how to do it. It's very simple. In terms of auditory processing, all you need to do is tell someone a sequence of numbers at 1 second intervals. Okay, so if you can say to Johnny, repeat this, 7, 2, 5. And if Johnny can say 725, Johnny's got an auditory digit span of 3. If he can listen to 4 numbers and repeat it, it's a 4. If it's a 5, it's a 5, all right? That's auditory sequential processing. It didn't just cost you $1,000 to go to a clinical psychologist to find out if Johnny had an auditory processing problem. You can go measure it, all right? And where Johnny should be, if Johnny's on the mark, all right, for typical, and again, we don't want to settle for typical, we want to see our kids be superior. Where it would be, if Johnny is about 3 years old, he should be able to do about 2 to 3 pieces. If Johnny's 4, it should be about 3 to 4. All right, if Johnny's 5, we should be 3, 4, 5-ish range. If he's 6, we should be 5, pushing 6. And we should be moving, if he's in a typical range, up to where he's processing about 7 of those sequences, anywhere from 7 to 10, 12, 13 years of age. All right. If they're not able to do that, Johnny has an auditory sequential processing problem. Johnny's not taking in as much information. Now, obviously, it's not about how many numbers your child can listen to. It's how they process language. And essentially, this digit span corresponds to how much they take in of what is being said. Okay, that is really important. If you say to Johnny, go upstairs, Johnny, and get your socks and your shoes, and Johnny comes down 10 minutes later with a shirt, and kind of wondering what in the world he was doing upstairs, probably Johnny has an auditory processing problem. All right. Many parents come in and say, Johnny's terrible at following directions. Well, guess what? Johnny isn't processing the directions. And think about Johnny sitting in a classroom. All right. Johnny, go upstairs and get your socks and your shoes is a whole lot simpler than what is going on in a classroom and is what is being said by a teacher. Truth is, most of the teachers are standing there talking to themselves because the kids aren't processing what is being said. All right. We need to fix that. All right. We can develop that processing. The visual processing is pretty much the same deal, looking at a sequence, and if you can process that information visually as you should. All right. We need to develop those skills, and it's incredibly easy to develop those skills. And as a matter of fact, we have a project called the Simply Smarter Project, in which we as an organization are motivated to help improve the processing skills of the people on the planet. I mean, in truth, we all need to get better. You know, as part of what's happening with our project is we see the lower part of the population with processing skills that really don't permit them to be able to be educated, to be able to get jobs, to be able to hold jobs, to have really the mental skills to raise children, have a family. You know, these people are in big trouble, all right? And unless we improve those basic functions, they're not going to do much better than they're doing now. Then we have the middle part of the population, the average group, who are struggling. You know, the people in the middle are not doing great. The people in the middle are not those brilliant kids they were born, all right? They're adults who are in trouble, adults who are struggling, adults who are not coming close to achieving their potentials. We want to raise them up to a superior level. And then the top group, the superior group, the people who are doing really well now, we want them to do better because the world's got some really big problems. And you know what? We're doing well with what I call collective intelligence. Collective intelligence is what gets that airplane to fly. All right? That's a whole bunch of brains put together to make that airplane fly. All right? But we need people, individuals with really superior intellect to be able to solve the major problems we have. And those problems are going to get bigger. And sadly, I think these critical skills are declining. I think they've declined tremendously in the last 50 years, and they very possibly have declined even over 100 years or more. All right? That's a big deal. We'll talk about that soon. Thanks.